Alright. Shalom. I want to give all praises to Yahweh by Shimmer. Give double honors to the apostles of great millstone that rule well. Salutations to the men of the hopeful and sincere elect. There is Makazar from a Trinidad camp. Just want to do a little edification for the Archeum's sake. And the name of the topic will be they were naked and were not ashamed. Alright. Going back to Genesis chapter 2 verse 25. So I will get straight into it. This is Genesis chapter 2 verse 25. It says, and they were both naked, the man and his wife, and they were not ashamed. Alright. So, you know, people might think that means Adam and Eve, because every picture you see with Adam and Eve, every depiction with Adam and Eve, you would see both of them naked in the garden. But guess what? It wasn't so. Because even in the law, it shows that the Most High against nakedness. Alright? And going back to Genesis 2:7, it said the Lord breathed into man the breath of life. So he gave Adam the laws orally. And if you go through Leviticus 18, you would see the laws against nakedness. Alright? Adam and Eve wasn't the only two people. There was a nation of people. And it wasn't no caveman thing going on. So everybody wasn't there butt naked walking up and down, you know, now learning life. Nah, we wasn't. Back then we wasn't like beasts. We had the laws orally. Alright? Going on. Is jumping on to Genesis chapter 3. Genesis chapter 3 verse high up when the serpent beguiled Eve. Alright, but going straight to the point, it says, verse 7, and the eyes of both of them were open, and they knew what that they were naked, and sewed fig leaves together, and made themselves apron. Now they said that they knew that they were naked, and their eyes were open. Means that they realized that they had sinned. Alright, they realized that they had sinned because when they ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, they gained understanding on things that they wasn't supposed to gain understanding of. Alright, just like with Elijah and Elisha, when Elijah prayed that Elisha's eyes would be opened so that he could see the thousands of heaven. Alright, and his eyes were open and he saw that veil was taken away and he saw the spiritual side. Alright, so when it says the eyes were open, mean what they got insight to things that they were ignorant of before. That it doesn't mean that they were naked and they didn't know. So, but only when they ate from the tree of knowledge of and good of evil, then they realized, nah, we didn't have on clothes. Nah, it wasn't so. They realized that they sinned because the first thing the Lord told them not to eat from that tree. So when they realized what they went into, they said, nah, we sinned. We really went off. So they went and tried to hide from the Lord. Now you have to remember that Moses is the one that wrote the book of Genesis. And Moses was getting a vision. Just like John, when John saw the whore and the great city, it was symbolic. That is why Paul said these things are allegory. When you look up the word allegory, means symbolic or spiritual. So it has a spiritual meaning to it. Alright? Just like this Passover have a spiritual meaning to it. With Adam and Eve, their being naked has a spiritual meaning to it. Right? Jumping down a little bit more. And Yahweh, verse 9, Genesis 3:9. And Yahweh called unto Adam and said unto him, where art thou? And he said, I heard thy voice in the garden and was afraid, because I was naked and hid myself. And he said, who told thee that thou was naked? Hast thou eaten of the tree whereof I commanded thee that thou should not eat? So yeah, so that is the thing the Most High tell him to stay away from. So from the time the Most High say, who told you that you sin? Who told you that you're naked? He know that is an iniquity that Adam committed. Alright? Because he specifically told him stay away from that tree. Alright? So he knew that he sinned, therefore he hid himself, because when you sin, you shame take you. Shame overtake you. This is Job. Let me read this real quick. This is Job 11 verse 14. If iniquity be in thy hand, put it far away, and let not wickedness dwell in thy tabernacle. For then shalt thou lift up thy face without spot, yea, thou shalt be steadfast and shall not fear. So when you lift up your head without spot, meaning you can lift up your face boldly. But Adam couldn't do that. Adam and Eve couldn't do that because they sinned. They were with false, so they were ashamed. So then therefore they hid themselves among the trees, which is the other nations, from the Most High. Basically they fled from the sight of the Lord to hide because they knew that they sinned. Wasn't because they was naked. Wasn't a group of a nation of people just walking around butt naked, because the Lord clothed the angels. How much more the Lord clothed man? Alright? So you know, going on to our next precept, because it's just to show that, guess what, when they were naked, there is sin that they actually sinned. It wasn't a lack of clothes. Alright, this is Exodus chapter 32. This is the incident with the calf, the golden calf. Alright, when Aaron actually made the calf and have the people worship it. This is Exodus 32 verse 25. And when Moses saw that the people were naked, for Aaron had made them naked to their shame among their enemies. So now the people wasn't naked. They didn't take off their clothes and just gallivanting all over the place. Alright? When he said that they were naked and he made them naked to their shame, mean what? The Lord Yahweh Shimmer just delivered you out of Egypt. And yet you come into the wilderness before these other nations and worshiping false gods. So that is why he said he made them naked to their shame among their enemies. So he made them sin before their enemies. When you sin, you actually become naked. That is why the Lord said, keep your garment. Because your garment is your clothing. This word is your clothing. Yet you might have one physical clothing, but your spiritual clothing is this word. Alright? It's not that you will be literally naked, like butt naked, but you will just be uncovered from the righteousness of the Lord. And that is what happened with Adam. He actually sinned and was ashamed because he sinned against the Lord. Yahweh Shemel Shai. Alright? It says Proverbs 15 verse 3. The eyes of Yahweh are upon every place, beholding the good, evil and the good. So the Lord's eyes beholding everything. The Lord looking down upon everything and he beholding everything. Alright, so nothing hid from him. Nothing hid from the Lord's eyes. Alright, so even if nothing hid from the Lord's eye, I mean what? It not naked from it naked to the Lord. It not clothed. It have no clothing because clothing actually hides the nakedness. But then guess what? Have no clothing that could hide from the Lord Yahweh Shemel Shai. Everything revealed before him. Alright? It's Job. Job 26 verse 6. It says, hell is naked before him, and death and destruction had no covering. So it says hell is naked and destruction had no covering. Alright? Meaning that the scripture said in all the affliction he was afflicted. Thy wars are continually before me. I have engraven in the palm of my hand. The Lord know everything that Israel goes through. The Lord know everything that the other nations do to Israel. So hell mean this is captivity that we in. The Lord know everything that happened. So nothing wasn't hid from the Lord Yahweh Shemel Shai. And destruction had no covering. The Lord know every atrocity that was done to Israel. So it naked before him. That don't mean slavery, though it butt naked. Just mean it have no covering. Mean it manifests before the eyes of the Lord. The angels carrying the report. Just same thing with Adam and Eve. Alright? Doesn't mean they was butt naked. It was allegory. Means that they sinned and they were ashamed. Alright? They were ashamed before the Lord. That is what it means that they were naked. Alright? I'll read this real quick. This is Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha. This is Ecclesiasticus chapter 17 verse 17. It says, for in the division of the nations of the whole earth he set a ruler over every people, but Israel is Yahweh's portion, whom being his firstborn he nourished with discipline. He nourished with discipline, just like we did with Adam. Genesis 2:7, he gave him the laws orally, the breath of life. Alright? Going back to Wisdom of Solomon, I believe is 7:28, I believe, for she's the breath of the Most High. So the Lord gave Adam the commandments orally, taught him the laws. So Adam knew that, guess what, nakedness was a sin. So it's not that he wasn't clothed. He actually sinned before the Lord. And that is why he said that he was naked. Because he was ashamed. He was ashamed of what he did. Alright? Going on. It says, verse 18. Whom being his firstborn, he nourished with discipline and giveth him the light of his love, doth not forsake him. Therefore all their works are as the sun before him, and his eyes are continually upon their ways. None of their righteous deeds, their unrighteous deeds are hid from him, but all their sins are before the Lord. So yeah, so guess what? Everything that Israel do before Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, so nothing hid from him. Alright? Nothing hid from him. That is why he said when the eyes were open, when it says the eyes were open, means what? They went into knowledge, going into the zodiac, because when you look up Genesis 3 and 1, the serpent, the word there is Nakash, which means a wizard or enchanter. They actually went off probably in the zodiac or sorcery, wherever the case is. And when they realized what they're dealing in, they said, nah, we're not supposed to be dealing in this. And then when they realized the sin, so they got certain is knowledge of good and evil. So to have both sides on to the tree of life, which is the constellations. Alright? So that is where they went off into. Alright? Read this real quick. This is 1 Corinthians. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 12. For now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then shall I know even as I am known. So now he said we see through a glass darkly. Means what? Basically like your eye closed, so you don't have certain insight, because we eyes opening right now, so we understanding this word. But to have full understanding what the Lord said, I believe is in Revelation 2:17, that he will cause it to eat of the manna. Alright? Means what? You'll get all understanding. So right now we slightly blinded. We eyes slightly closed to behold the whole majesty of the Lord. But compared to 2/3, our eyes opening to behold, to understand this word. But Adam and Eve, guess what? When their eyes opened, they went into things that they wasn't supposed to know. So that is what I meant by the eyes were open. And they were ashamed when the eyes were open, because they realized that the sin that what they went into was totally contrary towards the Lord. So that is why they was ashamed. Alright? This is Jeremiah chapter 16, verse 17. It says, for my eyes are upon all their ways. They are not hid from my face, neither is their iniquity hid from my eyes. So guess what? So everything Israel did, the Lord knew about it. So it had no covering. Basically, Israel was naked before the Lord. Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. Alright? Israel was naked before the Lord. Just like Adam and Eve. Genesis 2:25. They were naked and were not ashamed. Means what? Their ways were naked before the Lord. Their ways were open before the Lord. All their ways. And they had not committed any iniquity at that point. So that is what it meant, but they were not ashamed. It's not like it was a child, because a child walk around butt naked. But a child didn't know the difference between good and evil. So then therefore they wouldn't be ashamed to try to cover themselves when they realize that they're naked. Alright? They don't have to, because they don't have that knowledge of good and evil to know, hey, they're naked, so cover yourself. But it wasn't so with Adam and Eve. Their ways were open before the Lord, and therefore they did not sin. That is the reason they were not ashamed. Alright? That is why they were naked and not ashamed. This is the final precept here. This is Hebrews chapter 4, verse 13. Neither is there any creature that is not manifest in his sight, but all things are naked and open unto the eyes of him with whom we have to do. So no, I'm not naked. When we're out on the highways, we're not naked. When we sit on the byways, on the laptops doing videos, we're not naked. When we go to work, we're not naked. Alright, when we walk in the streets, we're not naked. So the way we mean by all things are naked before him means what? Nothing is hidden from him. Everything is manifest. So you have to understand with the scriptures. That is why you need somebody to teach. Alright? So when it go in Genesis, when it said Adam and Eve were naked, didn't mean they was naked. It means that their ways were revealed before the Lord, and they had no sin in them. So they had nothing to be ashamed about. Because when you sin, therefore you'll be ashamed. Just like what the Lord did to Israel. When he sent them into captivity, they were ashamed because they knew they sinned against Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. Alright? So with that, I hope it was edifying through the Spirit of the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. Until next time, I want to give our praises to Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. Give double honors to the apostles of great millstone that rule well. Salutations to the men of the hopeful and sincere elect. As Makazah saying, Shalom.